This is the Sunday stream opening song because the other song is copyrighted. La 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 la. Oh look, here comes Dog Cat Fox.
Hi, Sky.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Sunday stream. The stream I do on Sundays because Sunday is the day to stream on Sundays. Hope you're all doing well on this beautiful Sunday morning. It's actually kind of nice out. It's not, bitterly cold and snowy today. It's actually kind of pleasant out and everything's melting or drying up, which is nice. I hope similar is for you, but if it's not, I hope you're warm and with a hot cup of cocoa or a hot bottle of cocaine. I tell you what, the biggest challenge in setting up this show this week was having to make, for the sake of the thumbnail, a bottle of whiskey cocaine. And that'll make more sense as we get to that story. But that did not exist before I had to employ my rudimentary Photoshop skills to make that happen. So just appreciate the fact that that one element of that thumbnail for this show took me about 45 minutes to an hour to figure out. So there you go. That's the kind of effort and dedication I put in to my productions, everybody. But speaking of which, who's joining me on this beautiful Sunday morning? The Alexander. Good morning. Mike R. Good morning. Morgan King. Good morning to you. Kiever Dam. Good morning. And thank you, Kiever Dam, as always, for providing the link at the top of the chat box, guys, to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Please take a look at that if you're able to donate. That'd be great. If you can't, that's fine. But if you can, share that out on social media. That would be appreciated. So thank you for that ahead of time, and thank you, Kiever Dam, for providing the link, and good morning to you again. Advocatus Diaboli, good morning. Walter Tomaszewski, Scribe, if whiskey is the new Coke, how would a user chop a line? Wouldn't it go all over the place and onto the floor? And is it whiskey-flavored Coke or Coke-flavored whiskey? Well, Walter Tomaszewski, these questions and more may or may not be answered in the oncoming stories. I can make no promises, no guarantees. Not financial advice, not a financial advisor. Random American, good morning. Mike R, good morning. JB, good morning to you. Somnamnul Nation, good morning. Shady Grin, hello. TF good morning. Bridget, good morning. Morning, I'm making a bread today. Just a bread? Not bread? My background video is awfully short in duration. I think I have a longer one that's a morning kind of thing. Let's see, I think this one lasts a bit longer. It gets me a little weird when the video cuts and then jumps back real quick. And trying to find relatively lengthy background videos is difficult, so there we go. I wanted something that was calm and sort of morning-esque going on. So there you go. Anyway, but Bridget, good luck in making a bread. Secret Vampire Eris, good morning. Alice Morgan, good morning. I'm currently waiting in line for barbecue. Well, geez, you're better off than I am. I'm currently waiting in line to read news stories. I like some barbecue. What kind of barbecue? Is it going to be like pulled pork or something else? Or maybe some barbecue chicken? Oh, man. Barbecue. Now I want barbecue. I'm going to have barbecue for lunch. Somehow I'm going to make that happen. Thank you, Alice Morgan. Resolute Germ, good morning. Corey Suzuki, good morning to you. The Blakester, good morning. Jill Powers, the River Daughter. It's 59 Fahrenheit here right now. It got up to 85 a couple of days ago. How do you describe light? All wrenches and chat. Whenever I see somebody say that in chat, my brain for a moment goes wenches and not wrenches. And I'm like, that's fine. I can pretend we're like a D&D tavern or something. That's cool. Juliet, good morning to you. Meh, good morning. Let's see. Anybody else? I think I got everybody. Or no, Tier Alexander. Good morning to you. And I think that's everybody. If I missed you, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, good morning. But yes, we have several interesting stories today. Let's get on with them. I'm going to switch my background again. I don't know, something about that jumping over. This one is fairly static. There we go. Nice, calm reflection pool at the Capitol. You can't really tell from here it's necessarily the Capitol, but it is. Behind my circle is the Washington Monument. And speaking of government, now there's a segue, if ever there was a segue. Speaking of government, let's talk about New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy in a Daily Mail page that looks like something out of Angel Fire from 1997. God, all these ads everywhere. New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy makes stunning U-turn after ICE arrest threat, as neighbors reveal what they really think of him. Let's find out what this is all about. Man, is there a product I'm not accidentally shilling for right now? Good gravy. Governor Phil Murphy is walking back his claim that he was harboring an illegal immigrant in his $9 million mansion after border czar Tom Homan threatened to arrest him, and his neighbors are disgusted. A spokesman for the Democrats said he was only sharing a conversation he had with his wife when he claimed he invited an undocumented migrant to stay at their home and dared ICE to, quote, try and get her. Mahan Gunaratna. I'm likely mispronouncing that. My apologies. Murphy's director of communications told NorthJersey.com, quote, no one moved into their home. The individual in their orbit is a legal resident. So either Governor Murphy was telling the truth about having someone in his home and is now lying about their status and what was happening, or he made the whole thing up. Either way, he's lying. Anyway, she added, no offer was ever made to them, and Murphy and his wife only had the discussion because the woman was, quote, concerned about the general climate. You know, being concerned about the general climate is a little bit different than, I fear being deported because I'm here illegally. Now, Murphy's neighbors in Red Bank, New Jersey are sounding off on his lie. I don't know why they put it into sort of like quotation marks there, because either way, he was lying, telling Daily Mail they're disappointed in what they think is nothing more than political peacocking. Yes. That was all a lie. I think he was just rubbing the president the wrong way. He was apparently giving him the business. I don't know what he was expecting as a result of it. They were going to storm the house and look for her? Well, to make an example of the governor and other politicians who have made similar claims, either of harboring illegal immigrants or aiding and abetting their avoiding ICE, yeah, he probably would have. It's been proven a lie at this point. It is fictional, said Jerry Hurley, a retired firefighter who lives, got all these videos and things, good gravy, who lives on the same block where Murphy keeps his $9 million home. And here's a bunch of pictures of Murphy and Homan. Hurley said that Governor Murphy has lived in the house for more than 20 years. In fact, he has been a guest at his home previously. He added, quote, it doesn't make sense. She is waiting for citizenship, apparently. That is the impression he gave, and he is the governor. Why would you do that? He said, now it is proven that it is a fictional person. They said he misspoke. I don't think you misspeak entire sentences and statements and paragraphs worth of text. I think that's, yeah. I think it was just him and the president. I was a little surprised. He actually gets along with the president. Does he? I don't know. When I joked that maybe the governor had a few drinks before the talk, he laughed and said, quote, good for him, good for him. He is leaving office anyway in November. His 2 terms are up. Homan, the former head of ICE tasked by Donald Trump to oversee border control, said on Monday Murphy's words were foolish because he admitted to breaking the law. Quote, it's a foolish thing what he said because I got note of it, won't let it go, we'll look into it, Homan said on Fox News. Quote, and if he's knowingly harboring and concealing an illegal alien, I would seek prosecution, or the Secretary of Homeland Security would seek prosecution. So maybe he's bluffing. If he's not, we'll deal with that, unquote. Homan's comment came after Murphy implied he and his wife Tammy were assisting a person who could fall afoul of President Trump's illegal migrant crackdown. That's an interesting way to phrase it, because Trump's crackdown is not illegal, but it is a crackdown on illegal migrants. Anyway. Quote, I don't want to go into too much detail, but there's someone in our broader universe that their immigration status is not yet to the point that they're trying to get it to, the former Goldman Sachs executive said. Quote, well, we said, let's have her live at our house above our garage, and good luck to the feds coming in who are trying to find her. I dare you, feds, invade my house in the very spot I've just specified where I'm harboring someone that shouldn't be in the country. Ha-ha, gotcha, feds. A liaison told DailyMail.com, we haven't received any official word whether it is true or not. We cannot speak on behalf of the governor making that assessment whether he was joking or not. Okay, quote, "We have received quite a few calls in regards to this. We just haven't gotten anything from upstairs yet," she said. "As of right now, the only comments that we have is what the media, as far as what the The only comments that we have is what was in the media, as far as what the governor stated. We don't have any up-to-date information as to clear up whether he was speaking in jest or it was a serious matter, or was serious on the matter," she said. "I do apologize, I don't have more to tell you, but I do know by tomorrow we should have something because this has been a very big topic for today." So basically, the governor was showing off or bragging or trying to act like some kind of hero or something, and no one around him knew anything about what he was talking about. Yeah, well, here's the thing. Whether Governor Murphy ends up suffering any consequences for this stupidity or not, it acts as an example to all the other political virtue signalers out there who are trying to act like they are the heroes of this story. So hopefully, well, I mean, the only lesson here is if you're illegally harboring someone, don't say it out loud. I don't know what else to tell you. But if you are illegally harboring someone, be prepared for real consequences, because I don't think Homan is screwing around here. I think he actually means it. I'd love to see someone put it to the test on their soapbox and see what happens. But anyway, that was Governor Phil Murphy and 50,000 ads. I can't... my brain was just... I was having like a visual migraine just trying to read that story because all this stuff was going off in the periphery. Good gravy. Matt, has he ever met any feds? I don't know. I mean, he's only the governor of a major state of the union. I don't know. Probably not. BB Luminous going for the Anne Frank in the attic defense. Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm the hero of this story. Yeah. It's not that people have broken the law, federal law. So I'm going to break federal law too. Yeah, sure. Aiding and abetting. Aiding and abetting really should become like the soup du jour of anybody furthering this problem. Tier Alexander, as the chief of the executive branch, the president is the chief law enforcement official. Yes, to a certain extent, with the idea that the DOJ has some independence from the executive. It's all very complicated, and I'm not a constitutional scholar or anything. So, but Advocatus, it's counterintuitive. You post about your serial murders, assuming no one would actually admit it and ignore it. It's true. Yeah, it's reverse psychology. It's like, yes, I have 17 individuals in my basement who just happen to not be here legally. Ha ha. Anybody would be stupid to come to my house and check into that. Ha ha ha. That way, I'm joking, you see. Yeah. Well, I guess the governor learned his lesson. Let's see if some of the other politicians in the country will learn theirs. But speaking of crime, let's talk about crime for a second. Let's talk about the health advice from the president of Colombia. Yes, this is the story that led to the efforts I put into making the bottle of cocaine for this thumbnail. And I saw this and I was like, oh man. I mean, if this is true, then Jack Daniels has a whole new area of product possibilities. Cocaine, quote, no worse than whiskey. Would be, quote, sold like wine if legalized worldwide, Colombia's president says. And of course, Colombia is one of their chief exports is cocaine, so he's just playing salesman here. Bogota, Colombia, I'm assuming. Cocaine is, quote, no worse than whiskey and is only illegal because it comes from Latin America, said Colombian President Gustavo Petro during a live broadcast of a government meeting. Yes, everyone, cocaine's illegal because of xenophobia. And racism, probably. Yeah. Colombia is the world's biggest cocaine producer and exporter, mainly to the United States and Europe, and has spent decades fighting against drug trafficking. And more ads keep... Stop it! Good gravy. During a 6-hour ministerial meeting broadcast live for the first time ever, that might have been a mistake, the leftist president... Oh boy, said cocaine is illegal because it is made in Latin America, not because it is worse than whiskey. Scientists have analyzed this. Cocaine is no worse than whiskey, he added, suggesting that the global cocaine industry could be easily dismantled if the drug were legalized worldwide. Yes, everyone, legalize my country's chief export. Well, maybe not. Is it chief export? Major export. I'll say major export. Now, currently, we're having to go through all this rigmarole to constantly export this stuff and profit off of it. We could save so much more money if you just legalize it like whiskey. Quote, if you want peace, you have to dismantle the business of drug trafficking, he said. It could easily be dismantled if they legalized cocaine in the world. It would be sold like wine, unquote. Petro also pointed out that fentanyl is killing Americans and it is not made in Colombia. I guess, referring to the opiate responsible for around 75,000 deaths in the United States each year, according to official data. Quote, fentanyl was created as a pharmacy drug by North American multinationals, and those who consumed it, quote, became addicted, he added. Yeah, because obviously, as we know, cocaine has no addictive properties. Okay, since coming to power in 2022, Petro has attempted to make peace with all the armed groups that are fueled by drug trafficking in the hope of ending 6 decades of conflict. Best of luck. Cocaine production in Colombia reached a record high in 2023, jumping 53% to 2,600 tons, according to the UN Office on Drugs and Crime. So he's got a surplus. He's got a lot of product to move, and he needs to move it. If only it were legal. Like whiskey. Because it's not nearly as harmful as anything, especially whiskey. You know. Now, I wouldn't snort whiskey if I were you, and I wouldn't try to drink cocaine, but, you know, I think it might be a false equivalence. Maybe that's just me. But yeah, so just wait, guys. Let's see. He is not wrong, though. The only real danger with cocaine is the not knowing what else is in it. I suppose that's also possible. Other than that, it is just as addictive, and it never stopped us from allowing use of anything else. Cocaine is as addictive as whiskey? Really? Okay, I only took DARE in elementary school, so maybe my drug science isn't on point. Thank you, JB. Smoke crack ever do. Yeah. Yeah. Let's just not. Blue-eyed scream. They can put it back into Coca-Cola. Oh, wouldn't that be great? Yeah. Yeah. Colombian Coca-Cola, not Mexican Coca-Cola. Colombian Coca-Cola. Oh man, that packs a punch. It's like 222s from California, from Canada. Pardon me. California and Canada are two different things. Just so you know. Let's see. Advocatus. People fuck up their lives and lives around them from alcohol just as much as anything else. Well, I'm not talking about the collateral effects of becoming addicted to anything in particular. I'm just talking about the immediate inherent health effects and addictive properties of one thing to another. Legalized fentanyl movement. Yeah, by his logic, you might as well. Yeah, this super powerful pharmaceutical that, with one too many grains of it can completely kill somebody. Yeah, I'll just legalize that too. So why not? It'll get all over the place. It'll be great. But yeah, so there you go. That's the health advice of the president of Colombia. Heavy on the vice. A joke I already made in one of my tweets, but I'll still take a victory lap. Anyway, moving on. Let's go to Target. You guys know about Target, or Target, as the case may be. A couple of stories about Target, and they happened within a day of each other. Now, I'm not sure if there's any overlap. It might have just been coincidence that CNN did one story and then something happened the next day. So if it ends up bleeding into one another, I'll just do one story rather than two. But it seemed like it was two different stories. So rather than continue to preamble, let's go. Target was one of the most outspoken supporters of DEI. It's changed its tune. Yep, it certainly has. Target was one of corporate America's most forceful supporters of diversity and inclusion initiatives and vowed to support Black Americans in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder by police in Target's home city of Minneapolis in 2020. But less than 5 years later, Target has dialed back its high-profile DEI program. In 2020, Target CEO Brian Cornell said Floyd's murder which took place just 10 minutes from Target's headquarters, had a personal impact on him and Target employees. Why? And Cornell vowed to reopen one of Target's stores damaged in protests against police violence. You mean damaged in riots? There wasn't a protest. A protest wouldn't, destroy property like that. Okay. George Floyd, quote, could have been one of my Target team members, Cornell said later. I guess he could have if you applied a DEI hiring process. Months after the murder, Target pledged to increase its black workforce by 20%. Oh, a racial hiring quota? Oh, you mean a public announcement of taking action that is inherently illegal under civil rights law? A CEO saying such a thing, you'd think that someone would come down on him for that. You'd think there'd be some kind of, consequences. You'd think that after years and years of me profiling such statements from corporate executives that something would have happened. Something legal. No. Target pledged to increase its black workforce by 20% throughout the company over 3 years and take other steps to, quote, advance racial equity, unquote, including establishing an executive Racial Equity Action and Change Committee, or REAC, committee to, quote, focus specifically on how we can drive lasting impact, unquote, for black employees and customers. But what about your Latino employees and customers? What about your Asian employees and customers? What about your Pacific Islander employees and customers? What about your Native American employees and customers? What about your white employees? No. No, just one race is important here. Racial supremacy must reign at Target. Anyway, the following year, Target pledged to spend more than $2 billion with black-owned businesses by the end of 2025, including adding more products from 500 black-owned vendors to stores, and pledged $100 million to support black-led nonprofits and provide scholarships to students attending historically black colleges and universities. Do we see a pattern going here? If you replaced black with white. If a business, any business, but especially one of Target's size, said they were going to spend all this money to support one specific racial demographic, and it happened to be white, what do you think would happen? Target was honored for its, quote, outstanding commitment to achieving diversity, equity, and inclusion, yes, the diversity of a single race, in 2022 by the Executive Leadership Council, a prominent organization of global black CEOs. Cornell accepted the award for Target at a star-studded gala. Ah, yes, let us all stand in celebration of racial identitarianism and discrimination. It's great. It's great. Cornell defended Target's bold commitments. Yes, a hiring quota based on race is a bold commitment given laws that should have applied and come down on you like a ton of bricks. Bold commitments to DEI in 2023, saying that they were helping Target's business. Oh, really? Well, I'd love to see those metrics. How do you draw a line from when you instituted your DEI programs to an increase in profits? Spending billions of dollars on the basis of skin color. Quote, that focus on diversity and inclusion and equity has fueled much of our growth, he said. Oh, how? Quote, the things we've done from a DE&I standpoint, it's adding value, it's helping us drive sales, it's building greater engagement with both our teams and our guests. And those are just the right things for our business today, unquote. Well, damn, I guess it's a golden goose. Just, put in money and more money comes out than you put in. That's amazing. DEI is a miracle. There can be no reason why you'd ever stop. But Target has now shifted its message. Why? The company is the poster child for corporate America's change on DEI and direct public commitments to advance progress for Black Americans and racial minorities. I didn't hear anything about any other demographics racially from Target in that statement. But anyway, because Target was so vocal on its diversity efforts in recent years, the company's shift has alienated some loyal customers and suppliers. You mean the suppliers who are no longer getting the benefit of their skin color first and foremost? What loyal customers? Target recently announced it was ending its pledge to increase its black workforce by 20%, because that's inherently a crime, by the way. Seriously, you know, even with the mirage of cover that affirmative action and the DEI thrust and everything else was giving these programs and initiatives over the last 10 years, not a single lawyer in Target's bullpen said, wait a second, guys, we can't publicly state we're going to have a hiring quota based on race. It's illegal to do that. No one said this. Or if they did, they were just ignored. Anyway, it announced it was ending its pledge to increase its black workforce by 20% and its executive racial equity committee. It was ending its racial equity. Good, okay. Target said it was, quote, further evaluating, unquote, corporate partnerships and changing its supplier diversity team focused on bringing in black-owned and diverse suppliers to a supplier engagement team, working more broadly on including small businesses without specific regard to race. Yeah, I know. It's almost like there's laws that kind of say that's at the very least legally questionable. And certainly ethically questionable. Target will also stop participating in external diversity-focused surveys, including one from the Human Rights Campaign, an LGBTQ advocacy group. Yes, the Human Rights Campaign. A lot of companies have used the Human Rights Campaign pledge as their excuse for violating law. You know, sort of like the McKinsey study from 2015. A spokesperson for Target said Target was on track to meet its prior workforce diversity goals and financial commitments to black suppliers. Oh, so even though you've said you're ending these things, you're still working towards those same goals? That's almost like double talk. Gone from Target's announcement were prior vows to directly advance equality for black people or any representation goals or financial targets, instead replaced by a new company strategy called belonging at the bullseye. Oh, they're going for belonging. Oh, they're getting rid of the DEI, but going for the B. I think the B still stings because it's just changing deck chairs on the Titanic. The spokesperson said Target first introduced this concept to employees last year. Quote, "We remain focused on driving our business by creating a sense of belonging for our team, guests, and communities through a commitment to inclusion," Target said. Quote, "Belonging is for all is an essential part of our team and culture, helping fuel consumer relevance and business results." Boy, does this sound familiar to anybody from our TED Excellence this week? You see, we're all shifting. Yeah, DEI, no, DEI is bad, but belonging is good. And we were still going to talk about inclusion because we're probably using the inclusion index from Bridge, maybe. I don't know. Pressure on Target over diversity and pride. Target is altering its approach in response to political, legal, and social changes. There's no legal changes. All right, stop right there. Stop. Okay, of everything in that sentence, the one thing you got wrong is associating legal with changes. The law has been the law for decades. The law covering this has been in place for decades. Title VII and all associated and derivative laws from that have been in place for decades. The law hasn't changed. They've just been persistently breaking it, and no one has come down on them for it. Don't make this like, oh, well, everything they were doing was legal yesterday, so now they're having to kowtow. No. The affirmative action decision affected college admissions and Title VI specifically. Title VII was never impacted by affirmative action like that, and especially not in the realm of hiring quotas. This is nonsense. These small little apologetics for this really bug me. I know, but hey, I'm an English major, what you want? They include opposition from right-wing activists. Oh, you mean like federal law from 1964? Lawsuits from conservative legal groups, demand from conservative-leaning customers, and other factors. Other factors. You know, that reminds me of like when I looked at the bottle of spices at Red Robin, and it says it includes paprika, salt, and other spices. Like, well, maybe those other spices are kind of important. What are those other factors? Is one of the other factors established federal law? No, the only reason this is happening, guys, is because of right-wing activism, conservative legal groups, and conservative-leaning customers. It's entirely partisan. It's not that there is anything in established federal civil rights law put in place in the 60s that might have something to do with it. No. It's partisan. President Donald Trump last month also placed employees in any federal diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility offices on leave, and the Trump administration plans to take further aim at diversity programs. It's not yet clear how this will impact Target and other large companies. I can only hope that there are massive lawsuits. That was foreshadowing. Just hold on a second. Target stressed in its statement the need for, quote, staying in step with the evolving external landscape, unquote, a hint at how the tide has shifted since its pledges of 2020. Except the law was still the law in 2020. Look, the bedrock of the pitfall, the bedrock of the problem that Target put itself into was the same in 2020 as it is right now. The laws were the laws. They were doing just as much illegal stuff back in 2020 as is the case now. It's just that now there might actually be some enforcement of the existing laws, which hadn't happened in the last 10 years. Target is joining a list of growing companies changing or ending their DEI programs, such as Amazon, Meta, Walmart, McDonald's, and others. Ending their DEI programs, but like I say, remain vigilant. Just because they're taking the labels off the packages doesn't mean the product is changing. Target's change is symbolic of a broader pivot across corporate America, thankfully. In 2020 and 2021, companies raced to add DEI roles and chief diversity officers, making lofty commitments to racial justice, and invested in programs and organizations to support blacks and other racial minorities. In 2020, companies spent an estimated $7.5 billion on DEI-related efforts, such as employee resource groups, according to a McKinsey study. Oh, McKinsey! You're there! $7.5 billion, guys. Over the course of the past 5 years, the grift has brought in $7.5 billion. This is why every time I look at some promotional video from a DEI consultant or trainer or something, they are freaking out because the spigot is being turned off. They're running scared. They got nowhere to go. They have no other employable skills. They have just been benefiting from this nonsense. Not just in the last 5 years. It just ramped up in 2020. I tell you what, George Floyd's death was the best thing that ever happened to DEI grifters. It's insane. $7.5 billion. Man, like I said, I said this however many times even before 2020. All I would have had to do is hang up a shingle calling myself a DEI consultant, which is with as much nonsense as I had absorbed from promotional videos and panel discussions from 2016 to 2019. I could have called myself a DEI consultant and made a buck. Because there's nothing required to become one. We learned that a long time ago. That's just nuts. But opposition to companies' efforts began to emerge on the right. Oh my God, okay. Bud Light was a potent warning on the risks of LGBTQ-driven marketing campaigns. No, it was a potent warning on the risks of alienating your prime consumer base. You guys, CNN, you're acting a lot like CNN. In 2023, Bud Light's parent company, AB InBev, lost as much as $1.4 billion in sales because of backlash to Bud Light's brief partnership with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Well, it wasn't Dylan Mulvaney's fault. Dylan Mulvaney was just the end result of a philosophy by their marketing executive to completely alienate, disenfranchise, and vilify their core consumer base because they didn't want any, like, college frat bros anymore. They didn't want that image for their product anymore. And if you can believe it, consequences have consequences. Target that year also became embroiled in the political culture wars over gender and sexual orientation. It did? Why? Target faced a pressure campaign from some prominent right-wing activists, Republican political leaders, and conservative media outlets over its Pride Month merchandise. I remember this now, or vaguely remember this. Opponents focused their attention on a woman's swimsuit sold at Target that was described as tuck-friendly for its ability to conceal male genitalia. Misinformation spread on social media that it was marketed to children, which it was not. No, it was just displayed in front of children. That's perfectly fine. Yeah. Republican attorneys general in several states wrote to Target warning that merchandise in its Pride Month collection could violate their state's child protection laws. The campaign became hostile, with violent threats levied against Target employees and instances of damaged products and displays in stores. Okay, well, that's not acceptable by anybody. Target opted to remove certain items that caused the most volatile reaction from opponents, which Target said was done to protect its workers' safety. Target's response frustrated some supporters of gay and transgender rights who said the company caved to bigoted pressure. Target's quarterly sales fell for the first time in 6 years following Pride Month in 2023. Quote, "The strong reaction to this year's Pride assortment," unquote, "impacted sales," said Christina Hennington, Target's chief growth officer. Even Target is turning their back, ? Ryan Wilson, an Atlanta business leader and co-founder of The Gathering Spot, a members-only club for young professionals, said that Target and other companies had violated core, quote-unquote, values they espoused. Perhaps they did, but their values were also violating federal law in a lot of cases. He believes Target will lose support from minority customers. I doubt it. Still, there is a divide among some black leaders and black Target suppliers about how hard to punish Target. You know how hard they should punish them? With a federal class action lawsuit. Nina Turner, a progressive political leader and founder of We Are Somebody, a worker advocacy group, called for a Target boycott. Quote, "There's power in our purchase," he told CNN. Yeah, make Target more racist again. Make Target more racist again. I can see it now. Quote, "We should not spend a dime at Target stores. It's not lost on me that Target is headquartered where the George Floyd uprising happened," she said. "How quickly they forget and reverse course," unquote. But others appear unsure of an immediate boycott. On Wednesday, the NAACP released a statement saying it is talking to Target about its diversity plans. Reverend Al Sharpton's group, oh boy, good old Reverend Al, the National Action Network, will conduct a 90-day review of companies before potential decisions on a boycott. I wonder how many people actually listen to the National Action Network, especially who leads it, Al Sharpton, one of the biggest race grifters in American history. Melissa Butler, founder of the startup beauty brand Lip Bar. Lip Bar? Wait a second. I know that name. I know that company. She's associated with Bridge. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. My internal encyclopedia of DEI knowledge comes to the fore. This was one of the success stories that Bridge talked about in one of the Zoom calls, I think, with the president. Oh my gosh, guys. Oh my gosh. Wait, did somebody say Drunkle in the chat? Is Drunkle here? Did I miss something? Oh, let's see. Somebody says Drunkle and suddenly my eyes go, what? Is there a Drunkle in the chat? What? Some emulation. Drunkle. Where's Drunkle? Is Drunkle here? Morgan King. Good morning. Also, Kay Scholl. Good morning. Zalbla. Good morning. Your internet's favorite, lunatic. Good morning. And Kristen Scholl, guys, is over on X as well. If you happen to be on X or have access to X and you see the stream on X, if you could retweet on X, and I'll find more ways to say X. No, I was referring to Alan's greeting. Oh. Chat. Good morning, Alan Thyler. Lip Bar. Yes, Lip Bar is associated with bridge, I believe. Melissa Butler, founder of the startup beauty brand Lip Bar, said a boycott could hurt black-owned brands like hers, but she understood customers' frustration with Target. If your product is good, who cares what the color of the skin of the person at the top of the product is? Unless you're a racist. Why would it hurt your brand? What about your brand has to do with the melanin count of either the owner or the consumer? Quote, a lot of my customers shop at Target and they were asking, what's going on? What does this mean for the Lip Bar? She told CNN. I would be surprised if that were so. Quote, in our 8 years in Target, the relationship has been great and we have grown a lot, she said. Quote, Target has historically been a brand champion for small businesses, women-owned businesses, black-owned businesses. It feels like, wait, what's happening? Even Target is turning their back, unquote, turning their back on assessing the quality of a product on the basis of the genitals or skin color of the owner. What if Target had historically been a supporter of small businesses, male-owned businesses, white-owned businesses? Do you think that'd be fair? What does that have to do with the quality of your product? Small business, woman-owned business, black-owned business says what about the quality of any product? Take those three elements. Switch out the genders. Replace black with any other race. What do any of those three elements say anything about the quality or potential success of any product? Nothing. It's almost like they're irrelevant. It's almost like there's some laws that imply that that shouldn't be part of the process of decision-making. Just because Target is scaling back their DEI commitments doesn't mean it is going to be ending relationships with businesses owned by people of color, Butler said. Well, of course not, because that would be illegal. See, here's the thing. If I decide to go into business with you because of your race, that's pretty questionable. But certainly if I decide not to go into business with you on the basis of your race, that's really questionable. So you're right. It should just be about the quality and merit of the product, right? A Target spokesperson said the company was proud of its wide-ranging assortment and partnerships, including black-owned and minority-owned products. Target will, quote, continue to aim to create joyful experience. Joyful? Uh-oh. I think Kamala Harris has forever tainted the word joy when it's used in relation to diversity or anything else. I think it's just endemic now. To aim to create joyful experience throughout an assortment of products and services that help all guests feel seen and celebrated, because all of our guests are total racist narcissists. Oh, sorry, that was my addition. Target's recent changes to its diversity and inclusion programs have also angered some longtime LGBTQ supporters. Twin Cities Pride, an LGBTQ advocacy group that hosts Minnesota's second largest Pride festival, said it was, quote, deeply disappointed, unquote, in Target's changes and dropped Target as a sponsor of this year's Pride festival after 18 years. Oh my gosh. Twin Cities Pride said the change would mean losing $50,000 in funding and called on supporters to help fill the funding gap. You got a GoFundMe or something? The group raised $80,000 from 1,500 people in 3 days. Wow! And then I guess you never really needed Target's sponsorship. All right. Twin Cities Pride made the bold decision to part ways with Target as a sponsor, standing firm in our commitment to LGBTQ plus inclusion and equity, the organization said. Did I miss something? Aside from the swimsuit debacle, what about anything of Target's decisions had an effect on LGBTQ, etc.? Maybe I missed it. Okay, well, that was the end of the story. So there you go. Boy, Target, all this backlash, it's backing away from DEI, and everybody's upset. Oh my gosh. If that's the worst that happens, I suppose they just have to weather the storm, just to take the L for a while And, just wait until everything blows over. Oh, wait, Target sued over DEI, a story that came out just one day later. Uh-oh. Target shareholders are suing the company for failing to predict the backlash to its diversity program. The case stems from a major consumer backlash against Target's diversity, equity, and inclusion initiative and feeds into a wider debate about diversity policies. Target displayed pro-LGBT, where's the Q? Items in May 2023 and removed any reference to Target's toys being for boys or girls. This led to a conservative backlash and consumer boycott. I'm sure it was just conservatives. Target is now facing a class action lawsuit from investors who lost money on its shares. This follows a major drop in Target share price after the boycott. The complaint was filed in a Florida court on January 31st by the city of Riviera Beach Police Pension Fund, which is seeking others to join the class action lawsuit. The complaint accuses Target CEO Brian Cornell of failing to properly disclose the risks of consumer boycotts stemming from the company's DEI programs. You guys, I don't know what to tell you. DEI programs at their core have been, I'll be diplomatic, legally and socially questionable since the get-go. It's never been a question as to whether or not these programs were dangerous for a business to engage in. Never. Go back to the very first video I ever did on this subject on my diversity imperative playlist. Some financial company or something doing a promo video about their D&I initiative. And it's all right there. And I was just an idiot when it came to this stuff back then. I didn't know nearly as much about what happened and how it all worked back then as I do now. And even then I'm like, this is illegal, isn't it? This could cause some risks for a company if they engaged in this stuff, right? And they're saying it out loud. The case has been marked as related to a similar lawsuit taken by a Target shareholder, Brian Craig, in the same court in Florida in August of 2024. On January 24th, Target ended its DEI program, at least in so many words, as well as a separate initiative to support black-owned businesses that it had launched in 2020. No, a separate initiative to instill a racial hiring quota. You guys really need to use the correct terms here to underscore how serious this was and how obvious a violation of the law it is. It is one of many corporations abandoning DEI policies amid a conservative backlash. It's all partisan, guys. It's not that they finally got called out on it and there's actually a government or an administration that might actually enforce existing law. No, it's all partisan. High-profile companies such as McDonald's, Walmart, Ford, Harley-Davidson, and John Deere have recently reduced or phased out their DEI commitments. The Trump administration opposes DEI policies. Upon returning to office on January 20th, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to dismantle federal DEI programs. Brian Craig's lawsuit, related to the latest one taken by the Riviera Beach Police Pension Fund, quotes a Bloomberg article in stating that Target is the store of the, quote, boomer mom who drives a minivan and lives in the suburbs, unquote. My sister and I go to Target fairly regularly. We don't own a minivan. Neither of us are parents. And I guess I technically live in a suburb. She lives in the city, so... Anyway, sorry. Craig's lawsuit says, and what does any of that have to do with your lawsuit? I don't know. Craig's lawsuit says Target directors, quote, betrayed both Target's core customer base of working families and its investors by making false and misleading statements concerning Target's environmental, social, and governance and diversity, equity, and inclusion mandates that led to its disastrous 2023 children and family-themed LGBT Pride campaign, unquote. Sure, but why not just lean on the fact that at its base DEI is violating federal law, and that even if there's any ambiguity when somebody says I have a DEI program in place in my company, Target announced a racial hiring quota. I'm publicly, that wasn't some kind of internal document like, we're going to work and make 20%, etc. That's inherent illegality. That's inherent civil rights violation. Why that isn't being played up more, I don't know. What happens next? Grant and Eisenhofer. Grant und Eisenhofer. The law firm suing on behalf of the Riviera Beach Police Pension Fund said in a January 31st statement that it is looking for a lead plaintiff to join the lawsuit. Okay. Quote, if you wish to serve as lead plaintiff, you must move the court by no later than April 1st, April Fool's Day, which is the lead plaintiff deadline that was established by publication of this notice on January 31st, 2025. You do not need to seek to become a lead plaintiff in order to share in any possible recovery, the statement reads. Could I become the lead plaintiff? I mean, I don't live in Florida or anything, but okay. Anyway, I was hoping, when I said that Target was sued over DEI, I was hoping it was going to be, as I've hoped for over and over and over again, a class action civil rights suit by anybody and everybody who had applied for a job at Target, in this case from 2020 to January of this year. Because here's the thing, and I've said this again and again and again, any company that had an in-place DEI initiative or program from the point of its initiation until they say they got rid of it, or up to this point, every single employment decision, as far as I'm concerned, comes under question of potential civil rights violations. So Meta and Google and Accenture and Citigroup and HP and Target and McDonald's and Harley Davidson, on and on and on. All of these companies, for as long as they had a DEI program in place, every single hiring and promotion decision becomes suspect as a potential civil rights violation. Why that is not being talked about more, why that idea and its inevitable conclusion has not been brought up, I don't understand. Now, maybe I'm missing out on something here. Maybe there's some statute of limitations that is so short that it becomes effectively meaningless. But the longer that it goes on that these things are not addressed and no consequences, real consequences actually befall these companies and these organizations, the more likely that it'll repeat itself. Just saying. But if there's a lawyer in the audience who might know why we're not seeing massive class action lawsuits for civil rights violations, I'd love to know why. Because maybe I've been wrong this whole time. Maybe there's some mechanism of the law or something that prevents that from happening. Because as far as I'm concerned, if you have a hiring quota in place for 5 years based on race, doesn't that mean that every employment decision now becomes suspect to civil rights violations? Anybody who was hired or whose job potential was rejected, and if they weren't black, doesn't that mean that there's a question there? I don't know. Fostonia, boomer mom, how friggin' old are these moms? Do they mean grandmas? Yeah, I know, boomer moms. Well, of course, boomer has taken on a whole different meaning now. It just means you're old fogey. Like an old fogey, I guess. Let's see. Advocatus. I doubt the suit will go anywhere. They don't have much of a case, really. They allowed them to do it regardless, so they lost money themselves. Yeah, a fool and his money are soon parted. You guys invested in Target this whole time. You guys, I mean, as far as I can tell, it's like buyer's remorse. You weren't saying anything when they first initiated the program. You weren't putting up a lawsuit saying, hey, Target, this DEI thing you're imposing, these quotas that you're putting up in 2020, those are inherently illegal and might risk the value of our stock. No, it's only after the fact, after it all went sideways. Oh, you couldn't have, why didn't you foresee the fallout? I think you guys bet high and you lost, is the problem. That's not the lawsuit I was hoping for. Angela Arriaga, good morning. Let's see. Darren Root. Honestly, I would respect this if it was a long play April 1st joke. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, that just sounds like somebody who like is upset they got their hand caught in the proverbial cookie jar. It's like, oh, we were profiting off of a company that was making money off of discrimination and rampant constitutional civil rights violations. Oh, wait, that was bad? And now our stock value's dropping because finally it's being called out in some fashion. Oh, well, now we want a payout. We profited all this time off of something bad. Oh, now that it got caught, we want more money. Scribe ignoring my troll comments. Well, I was waiting for you to complain about me ignoring them before I said something. Hi, Polly. Good morning, Polly. Hi, Polly. So, lots of triangles. I don't know if anybody gets that joke. I'm still going to make it. But yes, if you guys don't know about Latino Slant on the YouTube channel, run by my friend Polly over there, check out Latino Slant for news and information and insight to Latino culture and pop culture, in politics, and other news items. And he has been on point and on scene with the whole Emilia Perez controversy, as Polly is plugged into the Hollywood elites and processes over there in La La Land. Yeah, pops in occasionally over on Midnight's Edge, which I'm now a perpetual guest in the mornings on Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Walter Tomaszewski, DEI was originally the way a company implemented Titles 4, 6, 7, 9, and the 14th Amendment. It was never supposed to be a replacement for those titles and amendment. Well, yeah, I mean, in a way, yes, except it became something that violated most of it. DEI was DEI is meant to further the idea that the entire world is inherently oppressive, and that disparities between demographic groups are evidence of this, and the only way to address this is to impose representation on the basis of these differentials at the cost of merit. It has tried to emulate the moral justification of affirmative action in college admissions within private business. And that's not how it works. I mean, affirmative action was not supposed to be where it was for as long as it was based on established law. But DEI tried to ride its coattails in a moral justification for addressing the wrongs of the past. It was trying to be a Dr. Sam Beckett of the workplace, to put right what once went wrong. Except it was and has been nothing but. Again, it all depends on the individual company and how they implemented it. It could just be lip service, just saying, we have a DEI program. They might not actually be actively doing something illegal. That's why I always have to couch these things by saying, legally questionable. What Target did in announcing a racial hiring quota is demonstrably objectively illegal. Simply saying that you have a DEI program does not inherently mean you've done something illegal, but it does put up a big red flag to question how are you implementing said program, and is there anything questionable therein? That's what you got to remember. And all these companies rolling all this stuff back, maybe they'll get in under the wire and never have to face any consequences. But some of these bigger companies that made far more explicit claims and announcements about how they were doing things, I've chronicled countless examples on my channel. Target has made public statements that say exactly the fact that they were violating the law. These things need to be investigated. These things need to be prosecuted in order to set a precedent that puts a disincentive on anybody trying this again in the future. That's what I say. Anyway, Faithless. It's critical race theory in practice. In part, yeah. In part. Renovatio. Hello. Scribe. A shareholder applicant would have a reasonable argument they could not sue when the stock was rising, as they would have no cause of action. They have no locus standing if they... I'm assuming... I'll wait until the second part here. I guess I could see that, but if there were no protests of the company, and I'm not talking necessarily about a lawsuit, but a complaint at a shareholders meeting or something brought up, if there wasn't some kind of warning by people ahead of time who were shareholders, even if they couldn't take legal action to say, I think what the company's doing is questionable, to only come back after the fact when things start going sideways. So I guess I'd be curious to know, because the story didn't say, and maybe it's not part of the deal. When all of this was being implemented originally, was there any meaningful pushback by shareholders at shareholder meetings or something? Not in a legal sense, but just in a, Are you guys sure this is a good thing we should be doing? They have no locus standing if they relied on a claim DEI was a breach of federal equality legislation. Okay. Yeah, I still feel like, at least on an ethical, moral level, it feels like, we got caught with our hand in the cookie jar, or buyer's remorse. That's all. But again, I have an English degree, not a law degree. Walter Tomaszewski. So the SSO has DEI. They implement it this way. Transsexual is a protected class. Asshole is not. You can get fired for being the secondary category even if you were in the first. Yeah. And also, Unfairophilia. Good morning. Brian Morissette. Good morning to you. And did I already say hi to Mike Savage? Mike Savage, blarg, if I didn't already. All right, let's get to a story from the Discord server. This comes to us from Shadow Aria, sort of tangentially related to the target story. NCAA bans transgender women, bans men from sports. A day after Trump executive order. No, NCAA bans men from playing in women's sports. Reuters, this is a ridiculous headline, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. February 6th, the NCAA, the governing body for collegiate sports in the United States, banned transgender women from competing in women's sports, effective immediately on Thursday, aligning itself with U.S. President Donald Trump. The policy change came one day after Trump signed an executive order attempting to exclude transgender girls, boys, and women, men, from female sports, a directive that supporters said would restore fairness, but critics contend infringes on the rights of a tiny minority of athletes. Men are not a tiny minority of athlete. Quote, a student athlete assigned male at birth may not compete on a women's team, the new policy says. That's not what it should say. It should say a student athlete who is a biological male may not compete on a women's team. That's what it should say. Assigned male at birth. This still perpetuates the idea that biological sex is relative or something. Assigned male at birth. Basing sex on what doctors assign to infants at birth and what is marked on their birth records. You mean what is 99% of the time observably true. Right. The NCAA previously allowed transgender women, men, to compete as long as they met testosterone limits on a sport-by-sport basis. Trump exulted in the NCAA policy change with a social media post announcing it is now banned. Quote, this is a great day for women and girls across our country. Men should have never been allowed to compete against women in the first place, but I am proud to be the president to save women's sports, Trump said, adding that he expected the Olympics to follow suit. I don't know. The Olympics is a much more international thing. We'll see. The change affects only a small number of athletes. National Collegiate Athletic Association President Charlie Baker told a Senate panel in December he was aware of fewer than 10 transgender athletes amongst the 530,000 competing at 1,100 member schools. Well, I mean, if you have something going wrong that only happens a couple of times, but you don't do anything about it, it kind of gives license for it to get bigger and become a bigger problem. So, okay. But the issue has caused an uproar in national politics, with Trump regularly raising the issue of transgender women and girls, men and boys, competing in female sports during his 2024 campaign for president. There's only a small number of people on the planet who are murderous psychopaths. I mean, it doesn't happen that often. It's a small percentage of the population. So, really to have a law, that sort of like makes what they do as a matter of course bad, I don't understand the problem. And I'm not comparing transgender people to psychopathic homicide. I'm just saying. The idea that only happens a little bit. Like, well, okay. Trump has issued a series of directives to repeal transgender rights. What is a transgender right? What is a transgender right in law? Just specifically. Banning transgender people from military service, ordering transgender women inmates to be moved into men's prisons. You mean men to be moved into men's prisons. Stop it. Just stop it. It's not like you become a different species or something because you have this word in front of your status. And seeking to ban healthcare related to gender transition for people under 19. I know. Doing medical science experiments on children that cannot legally consent to some things. I know, it's crazy. You know what the worst one was? And I don't know, if you haven't seen this, you're better off, and I won't go into too much detail, but there was a video floating around a couple of weeks back, it's still out there, of a teenager, I think, or someone maybe above the age of 18, but either way, but was in a wheelchair, behaved in such a way that I could believe if somebody told me they were a non-verbal individual. And this person, this girl, had scars on her chest showing that they just had a mastectomy. And this was in some kind of celebration of transgender rights or something. And it looked like video out of the worst days of medical experimentation that you might have seen in old clips from sanatoriums or the like. It was horrific. But this is supposed to be like the pinnacle of what we're supposed to be celebrating or something. Transgender men, you mean women, would still be eligible to compete in men's sports as long as they meet all other eligibility requirements, the policy said. I don't understand that part. I think either it's we separate the biological sexes or we don't. I don't get it. However, an athlete who was assigned female at birth, you mean a female, who has begun hormone therapy such as testosterone injections may not compete on a women's team. Well, yeah, because that'd be like dosing. I mean, we have plenty of like it'll be like steroid use or something. Oh my gosh. LGBTQ rights organizations condemn Trump's executive order as unconstitutional and based on misstatements and distortions about transgender people. Okay, well, take that again. For all of my personal opinions, by all means, take it all the way up to the Supreme Court and have a decision made. Let's get it over and done with, at least until the next cycle of court decisions or something. All right. Same as I have with either DACA or birthright citizenship. There's plenty of questions and ambiguities and possible legal arguments around both of those. Take them all the way up to the court or have Congress go through, whatever. Put it through the process. My opinion is not law. My cursory examination of things as not a legal expert does not make me, any more knowledgeable than anybody else that perhaps isn't a legal expert. So, hey, take it through. If there is some element, if there's some mechanism in existing law that makes this decision literally unconstitutional, then let's test it. Let's put it through its paces. Let's find the most compromised position we can take on the whole thing. And not compromised in the sense of like bad, but just like let's find a middle ground if there is one. Or make a firm legal declaration. Like I say, my opinion is just my opinion. My reflexive thoughts on this are just mine. But anyway, so there's that. Let's see. Or 1940s Germany. Well, yeah, possibly so. Shadow Sonata, double standard much? Yeah. Like I say, either we're keeping the biological sexes in sport separated one to another, or we're not. So either you can't have it halfway on one side and full on the other. Just draw a line. There's no confusion. It's over and done with. I don't quite get that exception. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Let's see. Advocatus. Funny thing is the Geneva Convention prohibits housing males and females, together, even with their agreement, and we follow that one. Right. Yeah. It just, the whole train of logic and, cognitive leaps made to try to make this make sense. Hurts my brain. But lastly, yes, we're on to our last story, perhaps the most shocking, or maybe not, of them all, and related, at least in part, to assignments at birth. That's the best segue I can come up with. The greatest virtue signal of all. The greatest virtue signal of all is happening to me. Learning to sterilize myself, 'cause then I'll get Trump once and for all. Michigan Representative Lori Husky opts for voluntary sterilization to avoid pregnancy in, quote, Donald Trump's America. Yes, friends, we finally hit that point. Quote, a sitting government official opted for voluntary sterilization because she was uncertain she would be able to access contraception in the future, unquote. In a completely otherwise context situation.
What? What is that? What the fuck is that?
Michigan State Representative Lori Husky sterilized herself, and she's blaming her decision on President Donald Trump. The 36-year-old Livonia Democrat told the throng of several hundred Trump haters, go away video, there you go, Trump haters that descended on the Michigan Capitol Wednesday that she voluntarily and permanently relinquished her fertility to make a statement about the 47th President of the United States. Quote, just under 2 weeks ago, I underwent surgery to ensure that I would never have to navigate a pregnancy in Donald Trump's America, unquote. Husky said, quote, I refuse to let my body be treated as currency by an administration that only sees value in my ability to procreate. Okay. Okay. Quote, if you know people who are questioning how serious this is, I'm going to repeat myself. A sitting government official opted for voluntary sterilization because she was uncertain she would be able to access contraception in the future, she said, according to Michigan Advance. Yes, because female birth control and or the morning after pill and or condoms outlawed under Trump. They will be unavailable within the next 4 years. I remember that plank in Trump's platform over the campaign to eliminate birth control, to eliminate contraceptives. I know I do. Or maybe I'm having a Biden moment. I don't know. Yeah. The bisexual former House Speaker pro tem insisted lawmakers must do more to counter Trump, urging followers to compel their elected representatives to go on the offensive. Quote, we need to demand that our elected officials at all levels stop pretending that this is politics as usual, she said. No, I would not be pretending. I would be pretending if I thought that self-sterilization was politics as usual. Yeah, no, you got me there. Quote, it is beyond time that all elected officials force the issue instead of preemptively capitulating, unquote. What are you Husky's proactive approach to thwarting the president. Yeah, take that, Trump. I just got my tubes tied. I got you, Trump. Oh my gosh. Okay. Husky's proactive approach to thwarting the president was echoed by Abdul El Sayed, a Wayne County health official who was defeated by Governor Gretchen Whitmer in his 2018 campaign for governor. El Sayed, who is now reportedly eyeing the U.S. Senate seat vacated by Democratic Senator Gary Peters, bemoaned the federal funding freeze, pointing to the impact on benefits for Michiganders that are exempted. They're exempted? Quote, it's about damn time that we stood up, and took our government back, he said. And so what? Thereafter, he encouraged all his supporters to get their tubes tied? What? A White House statement on the funding freeze explicitly states payments required by law are not included in the temporary pause, such as student loans, SNAP benefits, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Well, I appreciate you clarifying that because a lot of people said otherwise. The pause, quote, is expressly limited to programs, projects, and activities implicated by the president's executive orders, such as ending DEI, the Green New Deal, and funding non-governmental organizations that undermine the national interest, the statement read. Quote, funds for small businesses, farmers, Pell Grants, Head Start, rental assistance, and other similar programs will not be paused, unquote. So what's the complaint again? Thank you, Faustonia, so much. Appreciate it. Sigh. 1. I've never heard Trump say anything against birth control. I never have either. I can't say that he never has, but I don't remember that being... If Trump had a campaign plank about ending contraceptives or something, I think we would have heard about it. I heard about abortion rights. I heard about immigration. I heard about tariffs. I didn't hear anything about contraception. 2, who is more moronic, this chick or someone who voted for her? Well, maybe they didn't know prior to this just how unhinged she was. Maybe this will inform them for the future. 3, getting sterilized will sure show Trump. I know. Nothing says, gotcha, Trump, than making sure that you can never procreate. I'm sure Trump is really feeling it right in the chest. He's taken right to the heart. Thank you, Faustonia, very much. The Wednesday protest was part of a broader 50501 movement. 50501, is that like a zip code? 50501 movement that aimed to hold 50 protests in 50 states. Oh, on one day. Okay. Which produced similar demonstrations in other states. That reminded me for a second. I dated a girl once who was from Colorado, and she had a subscription to a magazine from Colorado that was just named 5280, and she had this on her coffee table, and I was visiting her at her apartment. I looked at that and I said, "Oh, that must be because of the Mile High City." And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Oh, 5,280. That's how many feet are in a mile." And she looked like, her eyes got big and wide. She like, "I always thought it was a zip code." I was like, "Wait a second, what?" I don't know. It's always stuck in my mind. It's such a bizarre thing. It's like, you're from, what? I'm not even from Colorado. Okay, all right, whatever. In Lansing, many waved LGBTQ plus flags and toted signs that read, "Tax the rich, reject Project 2025, fight the fascists, stop the coup, President Elon sucks, resistance becomes duty, and we have violent offenders in office," unquote. Quote, "If we don't stop it and get Congress to do something, it's an attack on democracy." What are you talking about? Did we suddenly transition from banning contraceptives to... Okay. It's an attack on democracy. Ann Arbor resident Katie Miglietti, if I'm saying that correctly, told WOOD, okay, as she touted a sign depicting Elon Musk puppeteering Trump. Right. The event, billed on social media as an effort to, quote, fight fascism. Oh, are you guys Antifa? Followed a similar protest in Lansing during Trump's inauguration that drew far fewer attendees and no lawmakers. Probably because it was freaking cold and nobody cares as much as you think they do. Also, the country's moved quite a bit since 2020. Quote, "A lot of us are here because we understand the danger we are facing, and we know that today is the time to act," one speaker said Thursday as she urged the crowd to, quote, "flood the phone lines of elected officials," according to the Lansing State Journal. Quote, "We will not sit on the sidelines and watch as our rights are ripped away and the billionaires dismantle our democracy, stripping it for parts." Okay, what specifically are you talking about? I mean that in all sincerity. If they're, because here's the thing, just because people are really high on the chaos and some legitimate auditing going on by Trump, headed by Elon or otherwise, that doesn't mean you take the eye off of Trump and Elon for possibly overreach or abuse themselves. They are not indemnified from oversight and critique. So if there is a legitimate complaint or worry, I'd love to hear it. Just saying these things without examples, going back to our TEDx lessons, doesn't help me. Like Husky, fellow state representative Emily Divendorf leveraged the protest to encourage followers to go further, suggesting it's the duty of the, quote, guardians of humanity, unquote, who attended. The guardians of humanity. You mean like the lady who just sterilized herself voluntarily? Because she's not going to be contributing to the March of Humanity much more after her. Anyway. Quote, we've gone from inauguration to fascism in 60 seconds, said Devendorf. Was that a Nick Cage movie? Michigan's first openly non-binary representative. Wait. You have that in quotation marks. That's not a quote. That's just a... Okay, so Devendorf is Michigan's first openly non-binary representative. That doesn't mean anything. Openly non-binary. Whatever. Quote, today we are the guardians of humanity, guardians of our neighbors' safety and protectors of a young democracy that is worth fighting for. I mean, it's young in relative terms to, say, Athens, I suppose. While some called on protesters to, quote, show kindness in every way you can, and insisted there's, quote, no room for hate in the USA, things turned ugly when State Representative Matt Maddock, I almost said Matt Murdock, Republican of Milford, made his way through the crowd. What happened? Quote, do not engage, one protester shouted over the microphone when Maddock appeared near the Capitol. Security! Security! Maddock told the Detroit News he opted to attend Thursday, quote, just to have some fun. Quote, we're going to make this nation great again, he said. We're going to make our state great again. We're all going to have fun. Oh, boy. He showed up to troll. Security! Security! There's a Republican here! Security! If we all sterilize ourselves, maybe there won't be any more Republicans after this. Absolute insanity. Total and absolute insanity. That's just nuts. Some Nemnul Nation, non-binary in Devendorf's instance just means has a pixie cut, apparently. Yeah. It could be anything. I'm non-binary. Oh, okay. So you're a character in Dragon Age of the Veilguard? I'm non-binary. Silliness. Shadow Sonata, one look at her and yeah, it's doubtful she would be at any risk for pregnancy. Oh, ouch. Let's grow. Come on, guys. Maturity, guys. Maturity. Blue-Eyed Scream, I have a funding suggestion. Dictionaries for leftists, they use words that they don't know the definition of. It's often the case that you're going to reframe a word that sounds good, but what is underlying the actions behind it are not good. I always bring up the example of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Democratic. Sounds good. People's. Right. Power to the people. Republic. Yes, a republic. Korea. Well, it's a place. It's a country. Yeah, those all sound like great words. Boy, is that really how the country operates as a Democratic People's Republic? I mean, it says so on the label, therefore, what's inside must as well follow suit. Right? That when I say a thing is true, it's right. Right? Yeah, it's obviously so. So diversity, equity, and inclusion. I mean, diversity is great. Equity, yes. Equality, justice for all, yes. Inclusion, well, yeah, sure. It must all be those things. Not tokenism and engineered results and exclusion. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it, I guess. I know there's been better reinterpretations of it, but that's mine. Anyway, a few more comments here, and then we will start wrapping things up for Sunday. We're coming up on that time. Let's see. Dear Alexander, I feel happy that she is no longer pissing in the gene pool. Ew, gross. Gross. That's gross. Especially when I have like a big reflecting pond of questionable hue behind me right now. I hope Schreiber's getting some of that commercial money. I've gotten 5 in 6 minutes. Oh. See, I don't know what... Okay. I rarely, if ever, monetize my streams, usually because I'm doing like a TEDx or something, and I just say to hell with it. It's not worth it. When I'm just reading articles or something, I figure it's like safe territory to say, sure, monetize. And then I guess I shouldn't let YouTube decide when to put the commercials in. So that I don't have any control over that. I apologize. I got to figure that out. I got to figure out if there's some way to say, hey, just at the beginning and the end of the stream. Maybe there's an option for that. I don't like it when it happens in the middle. So that's my bad, I guess. All right, I got to figure that out. I apologize. I will see what I can do if I decide to monetize things in the future. I don't usually do so because there's not really any point to it. But there's also the idea that if something is monetized, it also potentially gets more upkick on the algorithm because YouTube's like, aha, we can make a couple of cents off of this, so we'll give it a boost. It's kind of a Faustian pact or something. So I'll try to figure that out if I can. If I can just specify beginning of stream, end of stream, and not in the middle, I'll try to do that. I'll see if I can do that. I apologize. When are you going to release your album? Scribe Light's Greatest Hits or Scribe Light Sings the Classics is a great name. Well, I mean, the opening song for this series, I did that, and I don't know. I don't know if I can sing a whole song. I think my voice will probably give out somewhere in between, and I'll be embarrassed. I mean, what's a classic anyway? Like, motoring, what's your price for flight? And finding Mr. Right, you'll be all right tonight. Do. No? Okay. Speaking of Faust and being an English major, can you pronounce Goethe? Goethe. It's probably like Goethe or something. Isn't he Dutch? Yeah, like us plebeians would say Gouda cheese. Gouda, Gouda. Except it's not Gouda, it's Gouda. Gouda. Huthe. Oh, it's German? Okay, I don't know. See, you're an English major. You know how to pronounce it. No, I don't. I'm an English major. I am not a linguistics major. So there you go. So your immediate go-to for a classic is Night Ranger. Hey, do you know how long ago that song is? Okay, let me ask you this. For as many years as there are between now and when that song came out, go back to when that song came out and jump back an equitable number of years to what music was out at that time, would they have not called those songs classics? I think they might have. I think enough time has passed now that you could say that Night Ranger, Sister Christian, is a classic. Unfortunately, for those of us that want to feel not so old. But anyway, everyone, that's the show for today. Sorry I didn't get to everybody's comments and insights, but if you happen to have something to say elsewise, you can always put it in the comments after the show has published. Also, do you know that I have a Discord server? Well, I do have a Discord server. Did I think to prepare an invite link to the Discord server before the show? Well, I did think about it. And thinking about it usually is good enough, but sometimes you have to do it. And I didn't, but now I did, and so now I do. There's a link to the Discord server in the chat right now. If you'd like to join the Discord server, all you have to do is click on that link and you'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you actually watched the stream, are not a bot, and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is Colombia. To say hello, Colombia. You could be talking about the country, You could be talking about the character from Rocky Horror Picture Show. Either way, say hello, Columbia, and I'll know that you watched the show. A couple programming notes. First and foremost, tomorrow, Monday morning, at 9:05 a.m. Pacific Time, noon 05 p.m. Eastern Time, over on Midnight's Edge, unless something comes up, and it's possible. But otherwise, I should be a guest on the panel for Midnight's Edge in the morning, talking about all the latest box office news, pop culture, movie news, comic book news, new news, GNU news, all that good stuff. But even if I'm not there, you should tune in anyway, because it's always entertaining to find out what's going on in the wonderful world of entertainment. Beyond that, Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, will be another episode of TED Excellence. Although, now that I say that, I am thinking possibly of doing a special Valentine's Day episode. I don't know if that'll be in addition to Thursday or instead of Thursday, because last week, within an hour of each other, 3 different TEDx talks dropped by 3 different speakers on the subject of male emotions and toxic masculinity. And it just seemed to me like I can't do one at a time. I really should do this like as a triple feature. Maybe I'll do that Friday next week. I will keep you informed as I make those decisions, and I will let you know via X, which you can follow me there at scribe_light, or over on the Discord server if you decide to join over there. Beyond that, everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved. You have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the link at the top of the chat box to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, thank you guys so much for your generosity. Very much appreciate it. I'd also appreciate it if you leave a like on the way out and share this stuff out as you are able. Always appreciate it when you do that. And if you do so on X, please be sure to tag me in your tweet so that I know that you did so I can thank you personally, because I know you don't have to, but I like it when you do. Everyone, hope you have a good rest of your Sunday. Hope you have a good week ahead of you. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.